I tried to break up my son's marriage. Not because I hated his wife, but because my other son deserved her more. I know how that sounds. People are going to call me a monster, but you have to understand this from my side of things. I'm a mother, and my only goal has ever been to secure the future of our family. I have 2 sons. My oldest is married to a woman named Mia. My youngest isn't. And in my heart, I've always known that was a mistake. Mia is breathtaking. Not in a normal, girl-next-door way. I mean the kind of beautiful that silences a room when she enters it. She has this elegance, this posture. It's clear she was raised with a certain level of expectation. Her family owns a successful textile company. They work with big influencers, and they have a standing in the community. They have what people call good pedigree. And that's the thing. Her value isn't just in her family's money. It's in their foundation. They're grounded, decent people. And Mia is the best of them. My older son, as much as I love him, just doesn't match her. He's a simple man, content with a quiet life. There's no fire in him, no ambition to be more than he is. He doesn't see the incredible opportunity he has in Mia. He doesn't get it. But my younger son, he has the charisma, the personality. He knows how to command a room. Yes, he's made some mistakes, especially with money, but at least he tries. He wants more for himself, for us. So you tell me, who makes more sense standing next to a woman like Mia? The quiet man who's happy to stay in the shadows? Or the one who wants to build an empire with her? I saw the potential. A partnership between my younger son and Mia wouldn't just be a marriage, it would be a dynasty. Their children would be extraordinary. Her family's connections, paired with his drive, it was a strategy for generational stability. Not greed. Strategy. When I talked to my younger son about it, he agreed instantly. He'd always felt Mia chose the wrong brother. He said he could appreciate her, match her energy, treat her the way she deserved. And I believed him. We decided not to tell my husband. He's too emotional. He wouldn't understand the long-term vision. The plan wasn't to steal Mia. It was to gently let her see the truth for herself. So we started small. We created opportunities for them to be in the same space. Proximity. Familiarity. It started with my younger son attending one of her family's business brunches. He didn't push, he didn't dominate. He just blended in. Became part of the scenery in her professional world. It was the perfect first step. No alarms, no red flags. Just a quiet, steady presence. The beginning of a slow, inevitable shift. After that first brunch, I knew the key was consistency. I started inviting Mia over more often. For tea, to look at fabric samples, normal mother-in-law things. And whenever she'd visit, my younger son would just happen to be there, working on his laptop in the living room or grabbing a drink from the kitchen. He'd offer small favors, a ride if she needed one, helping carry something to her car. Simple, dependable acts. At the same time, I started planting seeds. I'd make little comments about my older son, nothing cruel, just highlighting his passivity. Oh, you know him. He's probably just resting. Then, I'd follow it up with something positive about my younger son. He's been trying so hard lately to find his direction. It was a soft, steady comparison, woven into everyday conversation. And slowly, the atmosphere in the house began to change. The presence of my younger son next to Mia started to feel right. More natural. The plan was working. I could feel the ground shifting under everyone's feet. But there was a problem, a weak point I hadn't fully accounted for. My younger son's impulsiveness. A huge fashion showcase was coming up, a collaboration Mia's family was heavily involved in. This meant more events, more new faces. And one of those faces belonged to Angela, a well-known model who commanded attention wherever she went. And my son, well, he notices women like that. I had to warn him, Remind him that one stupid move could unravel everything we were building. He promised he'd behave, but I could see the strain it put on him. This is where things started getting complicated. And by the way, if you're hooked on this story, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you won't believe where this goes. The fashion show rehearsals changed everything. Long hours, constant proximity. It was exactly what I wanted. But the increased time together made others notice things. My older son started asking innocent questions. Since when is he so involved in textiles? My husband made a passing comment. The house feels different lately. I brushed them both off with simple excuses. They always preferred the simple explanation. The real problem was my younger son. His patience was wearing thin. At one rehearsal, he tried to flirt with Angela, the model, and she completely shut him down. He took it so personally, complaining to me later about the photographer she was talking to instead. He was jealous, his ego bruised. He said the one thing that sent a chill down my spine. I'm tired of waiting. That was the first crack. The first sign that he might break, before the plan was complete. Things got worse. At the next rehearsal, I saw him getting too comfortable with Mia, leaning in too close, his tone a little too soft. And someone else saw it too. An investor named Jack. He didn't say anything, just a simple question later on. Is your younger son involved in the textile side of things? The awareness was spreading. But then my son did something truly stupid. Mia was talking to a photographer, who turned out to be Andrew, the CEO of a tech firm, and my son, consumed by jealousy, tried to get him thrown out. Andrew put him in his place, calmly and brutally. This is a professional space. Don't flirt with the models here. Especially not my girlfriend. That night, I told him he was ruining everything. And that's when I saw it. Mia started pulling away. Her visits became shorter, more formal. The space I had so carefully closed was opening up again. And in that moment of panic, I realized the gentle approach wasn't going to work. His lack of self-control was forcing my hand. It was time to consider a much faster option. I was done being patient. Ever since my son made a fool of himself, Mia had been keeping her distance. And worse, she was spending more time with my older son at the rehearsals. They looked like a stable, happy couple. That was the one thing I couldn't allow. My younger son was finally listening to me, though. He was scared. He knew he was losing his chance. So I laid out the new plan. Mia was exhausted from the long hours. It would be easy for her to fall into a deep sleep. My plan wasn't violent, not really. It was about creating an assumption. If she fell asleep at our house and woke up in her own bed, next to her husband, with a scene set to suggest intimacy had occurred, she would just fill in the blanks. And if she ended up pregnant, well, that would be the permanent connection I needed. I didn't think it would spiral out of control so fast. I invited Mia over, saying I had fabric samples. She was clearly exhausted. I made her some tea and I added something to it, just a little something to help her relax, to make sure she slept deeply. She dozed off on the couch, just as I'd planned. I told my younger son to go into the room with her, not to touch her, just to be there when she woke up to create the right impression. But he is impulsive. He's always been impulsive. He went into the bedroom with her and closed the door. Before I could even process his mistake, the front door opened. It was my older son. He'd come to pick Mia up. He called her name, walked toward the bedroom, and saw my younger son leaning over his unconscious wife. The scream that came out of him wasn't human. He launched himself at his brother, throwing him across the room. Furniture crashed. The whole house shook. And as they fought, two more people burst in, Jack, the investor, and Andrew, the CEO. They had been dropping someone off and heard the shouting. My younger son, pinned to the ground, finally lost it. He screamed the words that ended everything. I should have been the one with her. She was supposed to be mine. The room went silent. Someone called the police. Someone else called an ambulance for Mia, who wouldn't wake up. As the paramedics wheeled her out, my older son followed. He didn't even look at me. My younger son was still on the floor when the police arrived, screaming that I planned the whole thing, that I told him it was the only way. He buried me right there in front of everyone. I panicked. I went home and destroyed every piece of evidence, but it was too late. Mia was unconscious in the hospital for days. There was something in her system. Her family had security posted at her door. I wasn't allowed to visit. My husband confronted me, his eyes filled with a disgust I'd never seen before. I just wanted her with a son who deserved her. I told him. That was the last thing I said to him before he packed a bag and walked out. I tried to go to the hospital again, but security blocked me. My older son was there. He wouldn't even look in my direction. The silence was deafening. Then my younger son called from jail. He was sobbing, then blaming, then begging, then threatening. If I didn't get him out, he'd tell them everything. My husband came home only long enough to pack the rest of his things. The soft click of the front door was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. And then, Mia woke up. She remembered everything. Not because she was asleep, but because she was paralyzed. She was awake, but she couldn't move. She heard me giving her the tea. She heard my younger son come into the room. She heard him talking about how he deserved her, about the future he was supposed to have with her. She was trapped inside her own body, unable to scream, listening to the whole nightmare unfold. She said she had never known terror like that in her life. The detectives called me in. They already knew everything. Everyone had talked. Mia, Jack, Andrew, the staff from the show who my son had made uncomfortable for weeks. It all came out. My older son came to the house one last time. His hands were shaking. He said I had drugged his wife, that I would have let my own son get her pregnant. He stared at me like I was a monster. He said, "I always noticed how clingy he was around you. I could feel something was wrong, but I never thought you would go this far." He grabbed a family photo from the mantel, ripped it in half, threw the pieces at my feet, and told me I was dead to him. "Rot in hell," he said, and walked out of my life. His attorney called next. My younger son was cooperating, telling them every detail to save himself. It was all on me. I don't care anymore. Everyone is acting like I'm some kind of monster. I was the only one thinking about the future, about building something that would last. That house became a prison of silence. I had to see her. I had to make Mia understand. I went to the hospital. I didn't care about security or their stupid rules. I am the mother of this family. When I walked into her room, my older son was by her side, holding her hand. He looked at me like I was a disease. I ignored him and spoke directly to her. I told her the truth, that she and my younger son were the ones who made sense, that they could have been a powerhouse, that she was wasting her potential on a small, comfortable life. And she looked back at me. No tears, just cold clarity. She told me she remembered hearing my voice, telling my younger son to wait for the right moment. She said she was awake for all of it. Trapped. Listening. She said, "I am alive and safe only because my husband came for me. He saved me from you." Security came and arrested me right there in the hallway. They released me on bail. My younger son is still in jail, a coward trying to save his own skin. Mia is being hailed as some hero, a symbol of resilience. They're all celebrating my older son for saving her. And I'm the villain. Not because I was wrong, but because I was right and they were all too weak and sentimental to see it. They will regret this. One day, they will see that they burned down the only future that ever made sense. Time as it does moved on. The trials came and went quiet and clinical. The mother was convicted. her justifications finally silenced. The younger son received his own sentence, a direct consequence of his actions and his ultimate betrayal. Their father finalized the divorce, the family's hidden debts and fragile image laid bare for all to see. A foundation built on ambition had crumbled into ruin, but outside that collapse, life began to rebuild. Months later, the postponed fashion show finally took place. It was reborn with a new purpose, dedicated to survivors of domestic manipulation, with all funds raised going to support networks for victims. The show was a celebration of strength.
Mia
Walked the runway, radiant and serene. When she and her husband announced they were expecting twins, the room erupted in a wave of pure, unadulterated joy. It was the kind of happiness built not on strategy, but on a love that had been tested by fire and proven unbreakable. Later that night, away from the crowds, Andrew, the man my son had dismissed as just a photographer, stood with his girlfriend, Kat. In the quiet glow of the city lights, he did what he had been waiting so long to do. He knelt, not as a powerful CEO, but simply as a man in love. The ring was simple, elegant, and her answer was immediate. It was a new beginning, born from the ashes of a bitter end. What do you think? Was there any part of her that genuinely believed she was doing what was best for her family, or was it purely about control? I really want to know your thoughts in the comments.